My son and daughter-in-law were sitting in my living room when I came home from church that Sunday, and the rage in their eyes made my blood run cold. I'm Lorraine Patterson, 62 years old, retired nursing assistant from Greensboro, North Carolina. And the two people staring at me like I'd committed murder were the same two people I'd sacrificed everything for. They didn't knock, didn't call ahead, just let themselves into my house and waited, perched on my couch like judges at a trial I didn't know I was attending. My hands trembled as I gripped my purse. "Y'all scared me half to death," I said, trying to smile through the fear crawling up my throat. "What are you doing here?" Terrence stood up slow, too slow. His jaw was tight, his shoulders stiff. He looked at me the way you look at someone who betrayed you. "Ma," he said, voice flat and cold, "we need to understand what's going on." "What do you mean?" Raina crossed her legs, leaning back like she owned the place. Her smile wasn't warm. It was sharp, dangerous. "Lorraine, let's not play games. You know we've been managing your finances." I felt the room tilt. "Managing my what?" Terrence stepped closer. "Ma, you're getting older. You forget things. We've been helping you pay your bills for months now." I couldn't breathe. I had paid my own bills my entire life, worked 40 years in hospitals, raised my son alone, survived poverty and heartbreak and every storm life threw at me. I wasn't rich, but I was responsible, organized, independent. And now my own son was standing in my house, telling me I was too old, too confused, too incompetent to handle my own money. "I don't forget," I whispered. Raina's eyes narrowed. "Then why did you change your card without telling us?" That's when it hit me. They weren't here to check on me. They were here because I'd cut off their access, and they were furious about it. I set my purse down on the side table, moving careful and deliberate. My mind was racing, but I needed to stay calm, needed to understand what was happening before I said something I couldn't take back. "Terrence," I said slowly, "why do you think you need access to my bank account?" He blinked like I'd asked him why the sky was blue. "Because we've been taking care of things for you, Ma. The electric bill, the water, your prescriptions. We handle it so you don't have to stress." I stared at him. "Baby, I pay my own bills. Always have." Raina scoffed, loud enough to make me flinch. "Lorraine, please. You're not as sharp as you used to be. It's okay to admit you need help." The words felt like acid on my skin. Not as sharp. I was a nursing assistant for 40 decades. I managed medication schedules for entire hospital wings. I knew dosages, patient histories, emergency protocols. I had to be sharp. People's lives depended on it. And now this woman, this girl I welcomed into my family, was sitting in my house telling me I lost my mind? "I don't need help," I said slowly. "And I certainly didn't ask for it." Terrence sighed, rubbing his temples like I was exhausting him. "Ma, this is exactly what we're talking about. You don't remember giving us permission." "Because I didn't." Raina pulled out her phone, tapping the screen with her long nails. "We have proof, Lorraine. Screenshots, records, everything." My stomach twisted. "Screenshots of what?" "Your card details," she said, turning the phone toward me. I squinted at the screen. There were numbers, dates, transaction confirmations, things that looked official but felt wrong. "Where did you get those?" Raina smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. You gave them to us months ago when Terrence's truck broke down and you said we could use your card for emergencies. I felt my chest tighten. I remember that day. I remember Terrence calling, desperate, saying he needed a tow and didn't have the cash. I remember telling him I'd cover it, but I never gave him my card. I called the tow company myself and paid over the phone. That's not what happened, I whispered. Terrence's face hardened. So now you calling us liars? I'm saying I remember it differently. Raina stood up, crossing her arms. Lorraine, we've been trying to help you, and instead of being grateful, you're accusing us of, what, stealing? The word hung in the air like smoke. Stealing. I didn't say it. She did. And the fact that she said it first, the fact that she threw it out there before I could even think it, told me everything I needed to know. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they were trying to make me feel guilty for catching them. I need you to understand something about me before we go any further. I wasn't born into money, wasn't raised with silver spoons or safety nets. I grew up in a 2-bedroom house in East Greensboro with 4 siblings, a tired mother, and a father who worked himself into an early grave trying to keep food on the table. I learned young that if you wanted something in this life, you worked for it. Nobody was coming to save you. Nobody was handing out favors. So I worked. I got my nursing assistant certification right out of high school and started at Cone Health Memorial Hospital when I was 19 years old. The pay wasn't much, but it was steady, honest, and I was good at it. I liked taking care of people, liked the routine of it, checking vitals, changing bedding, talking to patients who were scared or lonely. I had a gift for making people feel seen. That's what my supervisor used to say. Lorraine, you make people feel like they matter. And they did matter, every single one of them. I worked the day shift for years, then switched to nights when Terrence was born because childcare was cheaper and I could sleep while he was at school. My husband, Terrence's father, left when the boy was 4. Just walked out one morning and never came back. No explanation, no goodbye. Just gone. So it was me and my baby against the world. I picked up extra shifts, worked holidays, worked weekends, worked through exhaustion and sore feet and back pain that never really went away. I made sure Terrence had new school clothes every fall, made sure he had birthday parties and Christmas presents and a mother who showed up to every single one of his school events. I thought I was building something. Thought I was teaching him the value of hard work, sacrifice, love. I thought I was raising a good man. And for a long time, it looked like I had. Terrence graduated high school with honors, got a scholarship to North Carolina A&T, came out with a degree in information technology, and landed a decent job at a tech company in Durham. I was so proud. I cried at his graduation. Cried again when he got that first paycheck. My baby, standing on his own 2 feet. I thought my job was done. I thought I could finally rest. I retired at 60, took my little pension, and moved into a small house I could afford on Social Security and savings. It wasn't fancy, just a quiet street, a front porch, a garden I could tend. It was mine. And it was enough. Or at least it should have been. Terrence was my whole world for the longest time. When his father left, I made a promise to myself that my son would never feel abandoned, never feel less than. I showered him with everything I could give: attention, encouragement, love. Maybe I spoiled him. Maybe I said yes too many times when I should have said no. But I wanted him to have the childhood I didn't. Wanted him to grow up believing he could be anything, do anything without the weight of poverty crushing his dreams. He was a sweet kid, polite, smart. He'd help me carry groceries, do his homework without being asked, hug me goodnight even when he got older and his friends thought it wasn't cool. I thought I'd done it right. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. He went from grateful to expectant, from asking to assuming, from understanding sacrifice to resenting it. I didn't notice at first. It was gradual. A tone here, a comment there, little moments that didn't add up until years later when I realized my son had stopped seeing me as his mother and started seeing me as a resource. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe I gave too much for too long and he forgot that love wasn't supposed to be transactional. Or maybe he just became who he was always gonna become, and I was too blinded by hope to see it coming. Terrence brought Raina home when he was 26. She was his high school sweetheart, the girl he'd dated on and off through college. I remembered her vaguely. Quiet, pretty, always smiling in that polite way young girls do when they're meeting their boyfriend's mama for the first time. I liked her back then. She seemed kind, seemed genuine. They got married a year later in a small ceremony at a church in Durham. I helped pay for the flowers and the cake because Terrence said they were trying to keep costs low. I didn't mind. I wanted my son to be happy. For the first year or two, things seemed fine. Raina called me every few weeks, asked how I was doing, invited me over for Sunday dinners. She laughed at my stories, complimented my cooking, told me how lucky Terrence was to have a mother like me. I thought we were family. But slowly, the warmth cooled. The calls got shorter. The invitations stopped. When I'd visit, Raina would be polite, but distant, her smiles thin and strained. I told myself it was normal. Young couples need space. They're building their own life. But deep down, I felt it. The shift. The way she'd look at me sometimes, like I was in the way, like I was a problem to be managed instead of a person to be loved. I tried to ignore it, tried to give him room, tried not to be the overbearing mother-in-law who overstayed her welcome. But ignoring it didn't make it go away. It just gave it time to grow. The request started small. "Ma, can you help us with the electric bill this month? We're a little short." "Ma, the car needs new tires. Can you spot us $200? "Ma, Raina's birthday's coming up and I want to get her something nice. Can you help me out?" At first, I said yes without hesitation. That's what family does. You help each other when times are tough. But the requests kept coming. Every month. Sometimes twice a month. And the amounts got bigger. $300, $500, $800. And nobody ever paid me back. When I'd gently bring it up, Terrence would get defensive. "Ma, you know we're good for it. We're just waiting on my bonus." But the bonus never came. Or it did, and it went towards a new TV, or a vacation to Miami, or some other thing they couldn't afford but bought anyway. I started to realize something. They weren't struggling. They were just bad with money. They lived beyond their means, and when the consequences caught up with them, they turned to me to bail them out. And I let them, because I loved my son, because I didn't want him to suffer, because some part of me still believed that if I just help him one more time, he'd get on his feet and everything would be okay. But it was never just one more time. It was always one more after that, and another after that, until I stopped counting altogether.
2 years ago, I slipped on a wet floor at the grocery store. It was raining that day, and someone had tracked water inside near the produce section. I didn't see the puddle until my foot hit it, and by then it was too late. I went down hard, felt something snap in my hip before I even hit the ground. The pain was blinding. They took me to the hospital in an ambulance. X-rays showed a fractured hip. I had surgery, spent a week recovering, then months of physical therapy learning how to walk again without wincing every time I put weight on my leg. The grocery store's insurance company called a few weeks later. They wanted to settle, offered me a sum of money to cover medical bills and lost wages, even though I was already retired. It wasn't a fortune, not even close, but it was enough to give me some breathing room, enough to fix the leak in my roof, replace my old water heater, maybe set aside a little cushion for emergencies. I didn't tell anyone at first. It felt private, personal. But Terrence found out. I don't know how. Maybe I mentioned it in passing, or maybe he saw the paperwork when he came over one day. Either way, once he knew, everything changed. The calls got more frequent. The requests got bolder. "Ma, I know you got that settlement. Can you help us out with rent this month? Ma, Raina's car broke down. We need $1,500 for repairs." I tried to set boundaries, tried to explain that the money was for me, for my future, for the days when I might not be able to take care of myself. But he didn't hear me. He just heard no, and he didn't like it. Looking back now, I can see the signs. There were charges on my bank statements I didn't recognize. Small ones at first, $20 here, $50 there, amounts that didn't seem worth questioning. I figured maybe I had forgotten a purchase or misremembered a transaction. I was getting older after all. Maybe my memory wasn't what it used to be. That's what I told myself. That's what I wanted to believe. But then the amounts got bigger. 150, 200, 300. I'd call the bank confused, asking what these charges were for. They tell me they were debit card transactions, authorized purchases, but I didn't make them. "Are you sure, ma'am? Sometimes people forget." I wasn't forgetting. I knew what I spent, knew where my money went. But the bank insisted the transactions were legitimate, said someone used my card, entered the right PIN, knew the right information, and the only person who could do that was someone close to me. I didn't want to believe it, didn't want to think my own son would steal from me. So I pushed the thought away, made excuses, convinced myself I was being paranoid. Maybe it was fraud. Maybe someone skimmed my card at a gas station. Maybe it was identity theft from some random criminal halfway across the country. Anything but the truth. Anything but my son. But deep in my gut, I knew, and I didn't want to know. So I stayed quiet, kept ignoring the signs, kept pretending everything was fine, until the day I went to the bank and changed my card. And everything fell apart.
It was a Thursday morning. Cool enough to need a light jacket, but warm enough that the sun felt good on my face. I took an Uber to the bank because my car was in the shop, and I didn't want to bother anyone for a ride. Independence mattered to me. Always had. The bank was quiet that morning. Just a few customers in line, a teller chatting softly with an older gentleman, the hum of fluorescent lights overhead. I waited my turn, then stepped up to the counter. "Good morning," the teller said, smiling. "How can I help you today?" I explained the problem. My debit card kept declining, not every time, but enough that it was embarrassing. I'd be standing in line at the grocery store or the pharmacy, card in hand, and the machine would beep red. Declined, declined, declined. The teller checked my account, tapped a few keys, then nodded. "Your card's just worn out, Mrs. Patterson. The chip's damaged. Happens all the time. We can order you a new one. Should be here in 5 to 7 business days." "That's it? That's it?"
Relief washed over me. I thought maybe my account had been flagged or frozen, something serious, but it was just a worn-out card. Simple fix. While I'm here, I added, can I update my security settings? I've been seeing some charges I don't recognize, and I want to make sure everything's locked down. The teller nodded, professional and kind. Absolutely. Let me pull up your account. She walked me through the process, updated my PIN, added two-factor authentication, set alerts for any purchases over $50. By the time I left, I felt lighter, safer. I thought I'd solved the problem. I had no idea I'd just started a war. Terrence's angry call. My phone rang that evening while I was making dinner. I wiped my hands in a dish towel and answered, expecting maybe a neighbor or a friend from church. It was Terrence. Ma, what did you do? His voice was sharp, accusing. I froze, the towel still in my hand. What do you mean? Your card. It's not working. My stomach dropped. What card, baby? Your debit card. I tried to use it and it keeps declining. The air left my lungs. Terrence, why do you have my card? Silence. Then a sigh. Heavy. Frustrated. Ma, come on. Don't act like you don't remember. You gave it to me last year when my truck broke down. You said I could use it for emergencies. I gripped the phone tighter. I never gave you my card. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. Another sigh, sharper this time. Annoyed. Ma, you probably just forgot. It's fine, but whatever you did at the bank today, you need to fix it. My hand started shaking. I updated my account. For security reasons. Well, undo it. Undo it. Yeah, Ma. Undo whatever you changed so the card works again. I felt heat rising in my chest. Not anger yet. Something worse. Something colder. Terrence, if I didn't give you my card, how have you been using it? Silence. Again. Longer this time. When he finally spoke, his voice was flat. We'll talk about this later. And he hung up. I stood there in my kitchen, phone pressed to my ear, listening to dead air. My son had been using my card without my permission. For how long? For what? My mind raced back through the months, the strange charges, the missing money, the times I questioned myself, wondering if I was losing my memory. It wasn't me. It was him. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from Raina. We need to talk. I stared at those 4 words. Cold, demanding, no question mark, no warmth, just a command. And that's when I knew. This wasn't about a misunderstanding. This wasn't about forgetfulness or family helping family. This was about control. And I just taken it back.
I didn't hear from them for 2 days after that text. 2 days of silence so thick, it felt like something living in my house. I went about my routine, watered my plants, watched my shows, cooked small meals I barely touched. But the whole time I felt it, the weight of something coming. Sunday morning, I got dressed for church like always. Pressed skirt, clean blouse, low heels I could walk in without pain. I sang hymns, listened to Pastor Daniels preach about forgiveness and boundaries, shook hands with sisters I'd known for 20 years. It felt normal and felt safe. But when I got home that afternoon, everything changed. I unlocked my front door, stepped inside, and froze. The house was too quiet. Not empty quiet, occupied quiet. I set my purse on the entry table, my pulse starting to race. Hello? No answer. I walked into the living room.
And there they were. Terrence, Raina, sitting on my couch like they lived there, like they'd been waiting. My heart slammed against my ribs. Lord have mercy, y'all scared me to death. Terrence didn't smile, didn't apologize. He just looked at me, cold, hard. Raina didn't even glance up. She was scrolling through her phone, legs crossed, expression bored. "How did you get in here?" I asked, my voice shaking. Terrence held up a key. My key. The spare I'd given him years ago in case of emergencies. "We let ourselves in," he said simply. I moved further into the room, gripping the back of my armchair for support. "Why are y'all here?" Terrence leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "We told you, Ma, we need to talk." "About what?" Raina finally looked up, her face smooth and calm. "About the changes you made at the bank." My stomach twisted. I already explained that to Terrence. I updated my security. "Without telling us," added Raina. "Why would I need to tell you?" She smiled, slow, sharp. "Because, Lorraine, we've been managing your accounts for months now. We handle your bills, your payments, everything." I blinked, trying to process her words. "You, what?" Terrence nodded. "Ma, you gave us access a long time ago. You were having trouble keeping up, so we stepped in." "I never—" "You don't remember, and that's okay, but we've been taking care of things." My hand started trembling. "I pay my own bills, Terrence. I always have." Raina laughed, soft, mocking. "Lorraine, come on. Don't be embarrassed. It's normal to need help as you get older." "As I get older?" That phrase again, like I was a child who couldn't be trusted with scissors. "I am not confused," I said, my voice rising. "I know exactly what I do and don't do. And I never gave y'all access to my accounts." Terrence's jaw tightened. "So you calling us liars now?" "I'm saying I don't understand how you have my information." Raina stood up, smooth and slow, like a cat stretching. "We have proof, Lorraine." "Proof of what?" She tapped her phone screen and held it up. There were screenshots, numbers, dates, transaction records. My card information. "Where did you get that?" I whispered. "You gave it to us, Lorraine, when Terrence's truck broke down last year. You said you could use your card for emergencies, remember?" I shook my head. "I called the tow company myself. I paid over the phone." Raina tilted her head, pitying. "That's not how you remember it, Lorraine. But that's okay. Memory gets fuzzy." I stared at that screenshot, at those numbers glowing in her hand. Something about it felt wrong. The dates didn't match. The amounts were off. "These screenshots don't prove anything," I said quietly. Raina's smile faded. "They prove you gave us permission." "No, they prove you have my information. That's not the same thing." Terrence stood up now, his voice rising. "Ma, why are you doing this? We're trying to help you." "Help me? By taking money out of my account without asking?" We were managing." "That's the same thing." Raina stepped closer, her voice dropping low and dangerous. "You're being ungrateful, Lorraine, after everything we've done for you." I felt tears burn behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "I never asked you to do anything." "You didn't have to ask," Terrence snapped. "We're our family. We take care of family." And that's when Raina made her mistake. She muttered it under her breath, just loud enough for me to hear. "We wouldn't even be in this mess if you hadn't moved that money." The room went silent. I turned to her slowly. "What money, Raina?" Her eyes whitened. Just a flash. Just enough. Terrence shot her a look, sharp, warning. "It doesn't matter," he said quickly. "Yes," I said, my voice steady now. "It does." Raina recovered fast, smoothing her face back into that calm mask. I just meant the settlement money, Lorraine, the money from your injury. What about it? We just think it should be used for the whole family, not just sitting in your account collecting dust. I felt something crack inside me. That money is mine. And we're your family, Raina shot back. That doesn't mean you're entitled to it. Terrence stepped between us. Ma, we're not trying to take anything from you. We're trying to help you manage your resources responsibly. Responsibly. Like I was a child. Like I hadn't managed my own life for 62 years. I walked over to my purse, pulled out a folded piece of paper, and unfolded it slowly. It was my bank statement, the new one I'd printed before coming home. I held it up. Then explain this. Terrence's face went pale. Explain what? These withdrawals over the past year, hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands. Money I didn't take out. Money I didn't authorize. Raina opened her mouth, but no sound came out. I looked at my son. Which one of you took my money?
I locked the door the second they left, slid the chain across, turned the deadbolt. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely grip the metal. I pressed my back against the door and slid down to the floor, pulling my knees to my chest. And then I cried. Not soft tears, not quiet tears, deep, gut-wrenching sobs that tore through me like a storm. I cried for the years I spent working myself to exhaustion. I cried for the sacrifices that meant nothing. I cried for the son I thought I raised and the stranger who walked out my door. I cried until I had nothing left. And then I got up. Because crying wasn't going to fix this, action would. I walked to my kitchen, made myself a cup of tea with shaking hands, and sat at the table with my phone. First, I called my bank. First National, this is Kevin speaking. How can I help you? Hi, Kevin. My name is Lorraine Patterson. I need to report unauthorized transactions on my account. There was a pause, keys clicking. Okay, Mrs. Patterson. Can you describe the nature of the unauthorized activity? I took a breath. My son has been using my debit card without my permission for over a year. I have documentation of the withdrawals, and I'd like to freeze my account immediately and file a fraud report. Kevin's voice shifted, professional, serious. I'm very sorry to hear that, ma'am. Let me get you connected to our fraud department right away. They transferred me. I explained everything again, the missing money, the screenshots, the confrontation. The representative was patient, kind. Mrs. Patterson, I want you to know you're doing the right thing. We'll freeze your current accounts and open new ones under enhanced security. No one will have access but you. We'll also start an investigation into the unauthorized transactions. What happens next? We'll need you to come in and sign some documents. After that, we'll contact local authorities and provide them with our findings. Local authorities. Police. My son could be arrested. The thought made me sick. But I didn't stop. Thank you, I said quietly. I'll be there tomorrow morning. After I hung up, I sat in the silence of my kitchen, staring at the steam rising from my tea. I thought about calling Terrence, telling him what I'd done, giving him one last chance to apologize, to make it right. But then I remembered the way he looked at me, the way he chose her over me, the way he blamed me for protecting my own money. And I knew. There was no going back. I pulled up my contacts and scrolled to Terrence's name. My thumb hovered over the call button. Then I scrolled past it, found my lawyer's number instead. She answered on the second ring. Lorraine, everything okay? No, Patricia. I need your help. I told her everything. She didn't interrupt, didn't judge, just listened. When she finished, she was quiet for a moment.
Then she said, "I'll start drafting a cease and desist letter tonight. If they contact you, threaten you, or come near your home again, we'll file for a restraining order. Thank you. Lorraine, I'm proud of you." I close my eyes, tears slipping down my cheeks. "I don't feel proud." She said gently, "You will. Give it time."
3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of silence. No calls, no texts, no angry voicemails. I thought maybe they'd moved on. Maybe they realized they were wrong and decided to leave me alone. I should have known better. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was watering my tomato plants in the backyard when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me I should. "Hello? Mrs. Patterson?" A man's voice, professional, unfamiliar. "Yes? This is Richard Brennan. I'm the HR director at TechCore Solutions. I'm calling regarding your son, Terrence Patterson." My stomach dropped. "Is he okay?" "He's fine, ma'am, but I need to speak with you about a serious matter. Do you have a few minutes?" I sat down on my porch steps, gripping the phone. "Yes, go ahead." Richard cleared his throat. "Mrs. Patterson, our IT department flagged some unusual activity on Terrence's work laptop 3 days ago. After an internal investigation, we discovered he'd been using company resources to make personal financial transactions." Oh, God. What kind of transactions? Online purchases, bill payments, transfers, all routed through unauthorized accounts. I felt dizzy. And one of those accounts? Was it linked to my bank card? Silence. Then quietly, "Yes, ma'am." I covered my mouth with my hand. "Mrs. Patterson, we take misuse of company property very seriously. Combined with the fraud investigation your bank initiated, we had no choice but to terminate Terrence's employment effective immediately." Terminated. My son had lost his job because of what he did to me. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "You have nothing to apologize for, ma'am. If anything, your report helped us uncover a serious security breach. We're grateful you came forward." I hung up a few minutes later, hands trembling. Terrence was fired. He'd used my stolen card information on his work computer. And now he had no job, no income. And it was his own fault. I waited for the guilt to come. Waited to feel like I'd ruined his life. But it didn't come. Instead, I felt something else. Relief. Because the truth was finally out. He couldn't hide anymore. Couldn't lie anymore. Couldn't pretend he was the victim. His choices had consequences. And for the first time, he was facing them. My phone buzzed an hour later, a voicemail from Raina. I almost deleted it, but I pressed play. Her voice was venomous. "I hope you're happy, Lorraine. Terrence lost his job because of you. Because you couldn't just let us handle things quietly. You had to make a scene. You had to ruin everything. We're losing our apartment. Our car might get repossessed. And it's all your fault." She paused, breathing hard. "You're a selfish, bitter, old woman. And I hope you rot alone in that house with nobody to care about you, because that's what you deserve." The voicemail ended. I sat there staring at my phone, and I laughed. Not a happy laugh, a sad, exhausted, free laugh. Because she still didn't get it. She still thought I was the villain, still thought protecting myself was a crime, still thought love meant letting people destroy you. I deleted the voicemail, blocked her number, blocked Terrence's number, and I moved on. The weeks that followed were the quietest of my life. No phone calls, no surprise visits, no drama, just silence and peace. I won't lie, it was hard at first. I'd catch myself reaching for my phone to call Terrence, to check on him, to make sure he was okay. Old habits die hard. But then I'd remember the anger in his eyes, the way he chose her over me, the way he called me selfish for protecting my own money. and I'd put the phone down. He made his choices. Now he had to live with them. I focused on myself, went to church every Sunday, joined a book club with some ladies from my neighborhood, started volunteering at a community center, helping seniors navigate their bills and finances, teaching them the things I wish someone had taught me before my son took advantage. I changed my locks, got a security system installed, updated my will to leave everything to charity. Not out of spite, but because I realized something. My son didn't love me. He loved what I could give him. And the moment I stopped giving, he disappeared. One afternoon, I was sitting on my porch with a glass of lemonade when my neighbor, Miss Claudia, came over. "Lorraine, baby, you doing okay?" she asked gently. "I noticed you seem lighter lately." I smiled. "I am lighter, Claudia. I cut loose some weight I'd been carrying for too long." She sat beside me, patting my hand. Family can hurt us deeper than anyone else. That's the truth. But healing from family, she continued, that's when you really find out who you are. I looked at her, this wise woman who lived 83 years and seen it all. "Who am I, Claudia?" She smiled. "You're Lorraine Patterson, a woman who worked 40 years taking care of others, a woman who raised a son by herself and gave him every opportunity, a woman who survived betrayal and chose herself anyway." Tears filled my eyes. I spent so long being his mother, I forgot how to be me. "Then now's your chance, baby. Go be you." I squeezed her hand, and for the first time in years, I believed her. 6 months later, my phone rang. Terrence. I stared at his name on the screen, my heart pounding. Part of me wanted to answer, wanted to hear his voice, wanted him to apologize, wanted him to be the son I raised. But I let it ring. He called again the next day, and the day after that. On the 4th day, he left a voicemail. I listened. "Ma," his voice was quiet, strained. "I know you probably don't want to talk to me. I get it, but things are bad, really bad. Raina left, took half our stuff and moved in with her sister. I'm staying with a friend, but I can't keep doing this. I need help, just a little bit to get back on my feet. Please." No apology. No acknowledgement of what he did. Just another request for money. I deleted the voicemail. He called twice more that week. I didn't answer. And eventually, the calls stopped. I thought I'd feel guilty. Thought I'd lie awake at night wondering if I was being too hard, too cruel, too unforgiving. But I didn't. Because I finally understood something. Love doesn't mean setting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Love doesn't mean letting people take from you until there's nothing left. Love doesn't mean sacrificing your dignity, your safety, your future. Real love has boundaries. Real love protects itself. Real love knows when to say no. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. I was 62 years old, and for the first time in my life, I was free. Free from guilt, free from obligation, free from the weight of a love that was never really love at all. I had finally chosen me, and I wasn't sorry. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you loved, drop a comment below. You're not alone. This is exactly why I created my free ebook, Protecting Yourself from Financial Abuse, Even from Family. Get your copy in the description. Subscribe if you believe in protecting your peace. Like if you think Lorraine did the right thing. Share if you know someone who needs to hear this. Remember, boundaries aren't cruel. They're necessary. Never let anyone, not even family, steal your future. Download the ebook, Protect Yourself. Choose you.